This video is brought to you by my website, aeroparts.com, high quality, genuine parts. This is a pretty simple job that can be done by somebody without much automotive experience. So I'm going to keep this video as short as possible and pack it with as much information as possible. So get ready to pause it if you see some information that you need. I'm also going to be including all of the information in the description of the video with links so you can quickly navigate to where you need to go and get whatever information that you need to. If you are looking for a longer tutorial, there are plenty of other very good tutorials on YouTube that I also suggest checking out. Now here are the list of tools that you need. The main one is a 9/16 spark plug socket. Make sure it has that rubber grommet inside of it. It's intended to hold the spark plug so it doesn't just fall into place, which could crack the ceramic on it and ruin the spark plug. And worst case scenario, that ceramic can fall into the engine, causing a whole bunch of other issues. A torque wrench is something that I also recommend for somebody without much experience. There are cheap $20 torque wrenches available, but I do recommend calibrating them. There will be a link in the description as well on how to do that. And needle nose pliers are great for those stuck sockets. Should I add anti-seize to my spark plug threads? I know this is going to come up in the comments, so let me address this. I don't do it. I've never had a problem. Most shops don't do it. The spark plug manufacturers actually recommend against doing it. A lot of the threads on the spark plugs already have a zinc, nickel, or trivalent plating, which resists corrosion. Now, I've been in endless debates about this. I personally don't think a little bit hurts. I would not slather them with anti-seize, but this is why I include a disclaimer on my videos, so take it with a grain of salt. My personal recommendation is don't do it. Now the engine cover is held on with 3 5mm Torx screws. Once you remove those, you can pull up on it and it should pop right off of that rubber seat. If you run into the issue like I did, this one was not budging at all and it felt like I was going to break the engine cover. If you run into this issue, you can simply put some grease on this rubber seal to help it to actually pop off like it's supposed to. White lithium grease is best for rubber seals, and my personal favorite is Honda Shinetsu grease. That's just a personal favorite. I use it on every rubber seal. Now that the engine cover's off, all 4 of our ignition coils are right on top. They're held on with this 10mm bolt that you can remove. I'm loosening all 4 of them at the same time here. If you have a lot of dirt or dust and leaves and stuff surrounding the ignition coils, now is the time to brush it out, blow it out, get it all out of the way, because you don't want that stuff falling into your spark plug wells. Once it's all loose, you can take those 10mm bolts off and unplug the ignition coil. Now when you lift the ignition coil off, I recommend twisting it first instead of just pulling them straight out, because sometimes the rubber boots that seal around the spark plug can get stuck down there when you remove them, and you have to fish them out, which is why I recommended pick tools. They are optional here, but you might need them if you run into that situation. Now number 4 spark plug is out, and here's what it should look like. This is the spark plug socket that has a proper rubber grommet in it. It's supposed to hold your spark plug. Now we put the new spark plug in, and I'm going to show you something that a lot of people run into with their torque wrenches.
Yeah, 14 foot-pounds.
Notice how the torque wrench clicked at 14 foot-pounds, but it didn't really spin. I don't know if I over-torqued this already when I tightened it down, so I actually loosened it and re-tightened it. When you tighten it with your torque wrench, you want it to spin just a little bit before it actually clicks or beeps, depending on the type of torque wrench you have. I'm going to show you the most ideal situation with that torque wrench when we work on cylinder number 3. Now, as I promised in the beginning of the video, I'm not really going to bore you with some of the stuff that we already went over, but I'm going to just go a little bit more into detail here. Same exact process on all 4 cylinders. I'm going to remove that spark plug. Now I have that new spark plug going in, and as mentioned before, I just like to tighten it by hand. Once you've tightened it as far as you can go by hand, then you can grab your torque wrench. You'll notice that I do something a little bit odd. I actually tend to grab a ratchet and tighten it a little bit more until it bottoms out, and then I grab my torque wrench. But that's not necessary. You can just go straight for the torque wrench once you've tightened them all the way down by hand. Now this is how the torque wrench should spin. You see how it spun just a little bit before it clicked? That's what we're looking for. This is also very typical. The spark plug sockets can get stuck in there, the extensions can get stuck in there, so once again, your needle nose pliers will be your friend. Teflon tape also works very well also. As far as the torque for the 10mm spark plug bolts, this is what I do. tighten them all the way down and just turn them a little bit. The torque for these are really not as important as the torque for the spark plugs. The most important thing is just not over tightening them, because that would be a disaster on its own. But if you're a stickler, I totally get it. 62 inch-pounds is what will tighten them down. And that is it. We are 5 minutes and 18 seconds into this video, and this is all you really need to replace your spark plugs. I'm just going to go over a few more things that you might need to know that this car didn't have issues with, such as if you remove your spark plugs and they have oil around them. If you see something like that, it means that your valve cover gasket is leaking and you need to replace your valve cover gasket. Here we go. The valve cover gasket from this angle actually kind of looks like it's leaking a little bit. I don't remember that from working on this car in person, so I'm going to be seeing this car again in the next couple of weeks for a dim headlight issue, which is very common with the Nissan Altimas, and I will be double checking this valve cover gasket when I see this car again.
There we go. Cool.
And of course, the last thing to do to make sure everything is perfect is to take it for a test drive. Oh, these Nissan engine covers are fun times. If this video helped you out, make sure to hit like. If you want to see more content on this car, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because there will be more videos coming up about this car. And don't forget, if you're looking for high quality, genuine parts, make sure to check out aeroparts.com.